In the last video, I posted my thoughts on Dana Coverstone's dream. Based off the description of his dream, my friend's dream, and my familiarity with terrorist attacks, I predicted a terrorist attack on the Trump administration on September 11th of 2020. Well, about roughly a week ago, he provided the description of his dream.
I had a dream Friday night. I've had several dreams I put on Facebook, and there were men in this room that I told that dream to that I had back in December. When I had the second one a couple weeks ago, I told the guys that Tuesday night about it as well, the continuation of the dream. Friday night, July 10th, I had a dream that followed the pattern of dreams that I had in 2020. I want you to listen to this. I want you to hear and fill my heart with it. I'm not trying to sensationalize this. I purposely decided to do it, say it this morning, both to my church and not do anything on Facebook with it. But I found that posting dreams on Facebook has interesting consequences. I know it's from the Lord. Friday night, July 10th, I had a dream that followed the pattern of the dreams I had with 2020. I saw a calendar turn to the month of September. And I saw a hand reach out and pull the month of September off of the calendar. Then that month of September was just floating out in the air, and I saw it land and sit right in front of the altar in our secret place. I saw the horns that are on the altar in there. I saw the picture of the return of Jesus and the healing, the four cardinal doctrines of the symbols. I saw them on the wall, and I saw the cross behind it. So I knew I was in the secret place with the month of September on the floor. I was then instructed to stand on the mount and pray for the church to have a strong backbone, for corruption to be exposed, and for a great harvest in the coming months. And so I walked, and I actually walked and stood on the calendar, which was underneath my feet, standing in the month of September 2020. After I prayed for several minutes, I was instructed to get help as I was not enough. So I began to speak into the air, begging believers to come and pray with me for the month of September. Pray for the church to have a strong backbone. Pray for corruption to be exposed, and pray for a great harvest. And suddenly, the calendar below my feet was getting bigger exponentially. If you've ever been to Europe, in some of the plazas and courtyards of some cities, they have life-size chess pieces. It was like the calendar was getting that big, and I was on a life-size September calendar. If that makes sense. And I then saw that I was not alone. I was standing on Tuesday morning, September the 1st. After I woke up, the first thing I did was look at my phone to find out what day September the 1st was on. It's a Tuesday. But I'm not the only one on the calendar. I'm standing on September 1st, and people on 2nd and 3rd and 4th. Every one of those days is filled with people that are standing on the month of September, and they're praying for the church. There were some praying in tongues, there were some praying out loud, there were some praying very quietly, there were some that were kneeling, there were some laying prostrate. Every model of prayer you can imagine, but these people were praying along with me. And then the cry went out again that more people would need to pray. So everyone, including myself, began to say, "We need help, come and pray with us, come and pray with us." And everyone on the mat, and the calendar that was praying, asking people to come and to pray through the entire month of September, every day, from the first to the last day. Asking people to come and pray with us. Pray with us for the church, for corruption to be exposed, and for a great harvest. And more people began to show up on the calendar. And then I saw a hand, as if I was lifted up, and I looked down, and I saw a hand, or finger, and it began to write the words, "A Solemn," in front of September, and the word "Assembly" after September. So all spelled out it said, "A Solemn September Assembly." And a very, very clear call to pray during that month. The numbers of the people kept growing and growing and growing, and now I realize that the contours of the calendar are actually beginning to fit into the contours of the United States of America. So as I'm standing on September the 1st, I'm up in the Washington and Oregon State area. So just imagine the calendar is actually in the shape of the United States of America. So I knew that specifically this was for the American church, in our country. The people kept growing and they kept filling the gaps. There was a lot of white space on this calendar, but I'm seeing more and more people filling the first, the second, the third. I've got people side by side with me. There's hundreds of people on September 1st and we're praying. Hundreds of people on September 2nd and they're praying. But the more we prayed, the more aggressively we prayed, I saw storm clouds appear all over the country. And I saw fires that were outside of the contours, and I saw fires within the country. I saw both the fires of revival and I saw the fires of opposition because of how hard we were praying. And yet the clarion call kept going out, pray, church, pray. Pray, church, pray. Pray, church, pray. And I saw incredible warfare in the heavens. It was impacting those on the ground. There was weariness in the saints that were fighting in prayer. Believers were holding each other up, standing together without any division. There was black and white, men and women. Everybody was fighting together in prayer on their knees or standing or just yelling it out. There was no distinction and no division among the body of Christ in this dream. The heavens were alive with battle. The sounds of battle. I saw angels, I saw demons, I saw warfare. But I saw believers in battle that was severe and intense and brutal. There were wounds and there was exhaustion. People who would stand for a while and go to their knees and pray and then stand back up. But I saw the bruises on arms and hands and shoulders. I saw weariness in the battle. And the heavens were alive with the same type of battle going on. And in the dream, it seemed like it lasted forever. Finally, the battle was over. And my eyes were drawn to the very last days of September. And I want you to understand one thing. This is not a date-setting dream. As I looked at that count, I saw people who were broken, who had been beaten down, they were wounded, but they were standing victoriously. And I saw the heavens open. And I saw the Lord stand with his angels. And he said very clearly, arise my bride, and prepare to pray. Arise my bride, and prepare for battle. And then lastly, arise my bride, and prepare to see my face. For I'm coming soon, and my reward is with me. And then it was like the sound of 1,000 shofars blowing all at once. And in the dream I could feel the wind of it hit my face. And I woke up so peaceful. I woke up with just the peace of Christ in the heart of my spirit. And what I sense is that the Lord is calling the American church to pray during the month of September. He said, arise my bride, and prepare to pray. Not arise and pray. He said, arise and prepare to pray. In other words, we've got to pick up our prayer lives. I don't know what's coming in September. I know the significance of the one dream I had. But what I saw was intense spiritual warfare unlike anything I had ever seen or anything we've ever experienced as a nation before. I don't know what's coming, but I can tell you this. The battle he is preparing us for and calling us to pray for is going to be serious and difficult. And we should expect serious spiritual conflict today in that month. So the closer we get to the September, the body of Christ needs to be getting ready to fight spiritually like never before. And I'm not declaring that October 1st the rapture is going to happen. Nowhere did Jesus say, I'm coming on this day. He just said, I'm coming. The same thing he said in Revelation, the same thing Paul said, the same thing the disciples said, the same thing the Word of God tells us. Keith, if you could just come back to the keyboard for just a moment. We're going to have to learn to tarry again, church. We're going to have to learn to be on our knees and stay on our knees. Why? Because he's trying to warn the church that something is coming. Something difficult is coming. Something big is coming, and we're not ready for it. I can say we as a church are not ready for what's coming. But I can tell you this. There are thousands and thousands of people that have contacted me and said, your dream struck a nerve, because I have felt the same way. I'm hearing about churches that are starting prayer meetings. I'm hearing about national things being started. Why? Because other people have the same sense, the feeling in their hearts, their minds, their spirit, that something is wrong and that something big is coming. Linda, I've heard you say for several months now, something big is coming. You don't say it out of fear. You say it as a warning that in your spirit the Lord is saying something's coming. And when something is coming, you prepare. If the weather guy says, okay, folks, there's conditions right now on the ground that's possible for a tornado to be hitting. So be watching. Right? The Lord's telling us now the conditions are there for the tornado to hit. But come September, He's going to say, folks, it's on the ground right now in your area. What are you going to do? Head for shelter? Run for cover? I'm calling this church. People can do with this what they want out there. But I'm calling this church to start praying to get us ready for what's going to happen in September. I don't know what it is. And I'm sure that people say, well, October 1st, Pastor Andrew, if nothing's happened, you're going to apologize. You bet I would. You bet I would. If I had my way, I'd never have another dream again. Because the stress, I've lost 16 pounds. I'm on the second hole in my belt to keep my pants up. I pushed it myself. I've got more expectations on my life than I can handle right now. More people want my time than I can handle right now. But I got to be obedient to what God shows. I got to be obedient to what He said. I'm calling this church, I'm calling Living Room Ministries to our knees, to the altar, to get ready for whatever's coming, because something big is coming. And when it hits, you're going to be glad you prayed. You're going to be glad that you were the bride that rose up. And He called us bride. He didn't say church, He said, arise my bride. We know who He comes back for, right? His bride. So folks, would you just come and find a place at the altar? Would you kneel down at your seat? Would you begin to pray for this nation, specifically for revival, for the backbone of the church to be strengthened, for corruption to be revealed, and for a great harvest? Even now, come. Every Sunday that I'm here for the next several months, we're going to be praying at the altar, asking God to move. We've been calling some special prayer times and special meetings. I'm asking some national leaders in the prayer movement to, I sent the video to Cindy Jakes to share her my heart. Because I can't do something on the national level. But I can do something here. I can do something right here in Brooksville. So God.
I think it's interesting that he mentions that there is prayer for corruption to be exposed. Speaking of corruption, while we were focusing on the pandemic, the rioting and looting, do you recall that scandal Hillary Clinton had with her private email account sending and receiving classified information? This past March, she is now required to provide a deposition, an open deposition, to the Department of Justice regarding her use of the private email address. She has to provide this open deposition in an open hearing. Judge orders Hillary Clinton deposition in email flap. A federal judge has ordered former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to sit for a sworn deposition for the first time in connection with her use of a private email account during her State Department tenure. U.S. District Court Royce Labyrinth issued the order Monday in connection with a 5.5-year-old Freedom of Information Act lawsuit the conservative group Judicial Watch filed seeking emails related to the deadly 2012 attack on U.S. facilities in Benghazi, Libya. Clinton was previously required to submit a sworn written statement about her email use, but the deposition, if it takes place, would be the first time she had to submit to live questioning under oath on the subject. During her 4 years in President Barack Obama's cabinet, Clinton relied on a private email account and server for both her work-related and personal messages. The practice led to a storm of controversy that roiled her 2016 presidential bid and is widely viewed as contributing to her ultimate defeat by Donald Trump. In response to press questions during the campaign and in the sworn statement, Clinton said she kept the private account and server after taking over as Secretary of State in 2009 as a matter of convenience and not to avoid FOIA or other disclosure requirements. The FBI investigated, interviewed Clinton, and recommended against criminal charges, but it did find dozens of messages in her account that officials said contained highly classified information. However, Labyrinth said in his ruling Monday that the FBI probe and representations by the State Department have not adequately put to rest questions about the episode, and Clinton's deposition is needed to address those concerns. To argue that the court now has enough information to determine whether State conducted an adequate search is preposterous, wrote Labyrinth, who has tangled with Clinton aides for decades in a series of cases. The judge and appointee of President Ronald Reagan said the fact that more Clinton emails continue to dribble out from the State Department raises questions about the thoroughness of the government's earlier actions to recover Clinton's messages. Even years after the FBI investigation, the slow trickle of new emails has yet to be explained, Labyrinth wrote. He blasted Clinton's prior answers given in response to another judge's order as, quote, incomplete, unhelpful, or cursory at best. Among the questions Labyrinth said Clinton still needs to answer, how did she arrive at her belief that her private server emails would be preserved by normal State Department processes for email retention? Who told her that, if anyone, and when? Did she realize State was giving no records response to FOIA requests for her emails? If so, did she suspect that she had any obligation to disclose the existence of her private server to those at State handling the FOIA requests? And why did she think that using a private server to conduct State Department business was permissible under the law in the first place? In addition to ordering Clinton's deposition, Labyrinth said he'll require Clinton's former Chief of Staff, Cheryl Mills, to be deposed, although she was already questioned in person and under oath by Judicial Watch about the issue in another FOIA case. The judge also approved a subpoena to Google for any Clinton emails it may possess. Labyrinth said Clinton and Mills may be questioned specifically about their knowledge of records related to the Benghazi attack, but not about their response to the assault, which killed 4 Americans, including U.S. Ambassador to Libya. Lawyers for Clinton and Mills did not immediately respond to requests for comment on the judge's order. And regarding the open deposition, according to CNN, Comey prepared to draft exoneration for Clinton before conducting interviews with top Clinton aides who were offered immunity for their cooperation. Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley and Senator Lindsey Graham said Thursday in a joint statement, citing transcripts of interviews with former Comey aides obtained by the Senate Judiciary Committee. Conclusion first, fact-gathering second. That's no way to run an investigation. The FBI should be held to a higher standard than that, especially in a matter of such great public interest and controversy. Grassley and Graham wrote in a letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray seeking more information, including all drafts of Comey's final statement on Clinton's emails by September 13th. If you watched my previous video on the prediction on what would happen on the month of September, you will find that I predicted a terrorist attack on the Trump administration that would incapacitate Trump and Pence, and then place Nancy Pelosi as acting president of the United States. Is it a coincidence that I predicted this to happen around the time of the due date for the sworn deposition? The news about Hillary's appeal getting rejected broke right around the time the markets were crashing in response to the COVID-19 panic. As mentioned in The Dream, Dana Coverstone said that something big was going to happen. He just didn't know what it was. I have a hunch I'm not 100% certain, but it's a hunch that the possible terrorist attack on the Trump administration is going to be used to distract the American people from the public sworn deposition that could have otherwise implicated corrupt politicians from different parties in some pretty heinous acts, to say the least. This is honestly the best way to describe it. No, I can't even say to say the least. It really is the best way to describe it. My vocabulary is incapable of going that far in describing how horrendous these acts might be. Before I go into what we, the American people, should do to be on guard against this, in case I'm right about the terrorist attack, I'm going to record this clip of me providing a full prediction of the attack, so I can play it on September 11th if the attack occurs. This is only if the attack occurs. I predicted the terrorist attack on the Trump administration. I predicted that it would take place on September of this year. I did this by examining the dreams of Dana Coverstone and a friend of mine who is in no way related to Dana Coverstone. Pastor Coverstone dreamt that certain events were to take place in the following months: March, June, September, and then November. These events would spark nationwide civil discourse and lawlessness. I shot for the 11th of September to be specific. In my friend's dream, he dreamt that there would be big explosions that would kill people, and amidst the election, a woman would be given authority and go mad with power. I predicted the 11th because it is a date notorious for Islamic terrorist attacks, since Antifa and the Black Lives Matter organization are funded by Iran and other Islamic extremist groups, and that Al-Qaeda is exploiting the death of George Floyd to recruit people to their cause to overthrow the United States. I figured that an attack on the anniversary of 9/11 would offer the perfect distraction for conservatives, liberals, and libertarians to tear each other apart for. Conservatives would have the proof that Islamic terrorist groups are working with Antifa and the Black Lives Matter organization to destroy America. Liberals would accuse conservatives of lumping in peaceful protesters and peaceful Muslims with the rioters, looters, and terrorists. And libertarians would continue to blast Joe Jurgensen memes on social media. This, therefore, has everyone distracted from the elephant in the room, which is the sworn deposition required of Hillary Clinton regarding the use of her private email address to send and receive classified information. Now, what is on those emails that everyone is so obsessed about? That's a good question. Most of the information is classified. We do know, however, that the Clintons have popped up numerous times on Jeffrey Epstein's flight log. Jeffrey Epstein was a prolific child sex trafficker for high prolific philanthropists, wealthy individuals, celebrities, and politicians. He would then save this evidence and use it to blackmail these individuals into handing him money. Last year, however, from July to August, he was apprehended by law enforcement for engaging in these activities. He was due to testify as to who was involved with the activities on Pedophile Island. Before he was going to testify, after he was taken off a suicide watch and the guards fell asleep along with the cameras malfunctioning, he ended up not killing himself. No need to worry, his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, was arrested at the beginning of July. My only concern is whether or not if she is going to stay alive. You see, now these days, not killing yourself has become quite a challenge. But there is a stark contrast between not killing yourself and not killing yourself. I also recommended that no matter what happens in September, that we continue to pray for the church and pray for the nation during the month of September. Not only will this terrorist attack be used to distract us from public corruption, it will also be used by Satan to distract us from the Lord by attacking one another, even within the body of Christ. This is a perfect tool for him, because there is no way whatsoever that an assassination on the executive leadership is ever going to be apolitical. Any assassination on any elected official is always political. It's just not going to, there's no way we're going to avoid political debate about it. Now, that being said, if you want to mourn for lost leadership, that's fine. I'm not saying you shouldn't. No matter your beliefs, though, don't let anything distract you. Whatever time you could have used to focus on this event, use it to focus on Christ. If you're a conservative, don't let the devil win by severing your prayer with the Lord, because either a liberal is goading you on, or you're afraid of this country and you're afraid that it's going to be torn apart. At this point, we need to pray to the Lord. If you're a liberal and a conservative goads you into trying to lash out, don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Don't give him the time. Don't give him the time nor the day or the place. Satan is using him as a tool to get to you the same way he can use anyone. Libertarians, if you don't believe in a God, I highly recommend you pray to one. Set the memes aside and pray. Pray for the church. Pray for the nation. Pray for corruption to be exposed. If someone tries to provoke you on social media, just remember, hashtag pray for the church, hashtag pray for the nation, hashtag pray for corruption to be exposed. Keep doing this, because we desperately need it. All of us need to stand and pray together as one nation under God. You'll certainly find me doing this all month. Don't even try to provoke me. It won't work. I'll get back with you on October 1st, but right now it is August 2nd, 2020. You ever had a serious question for me that you wanted answered on this channel in one of my videos? Mainstream social media platforms make it near impossible to post anything up for the public to see if it doesn't fit a specific political viewpoint or just a specific mindset. If you desperately wanted to get a question directed towards me, you should create an account with Gab Social. It is the alternative to Twitter, and it won't cost you a dime. You can put up posts for everyone that follows you to see, and you can join different groups that catch your interest. Once you create an account, find my Gab account, and post your question on my wall. Once I get to your question, or if it is thought-provoking enough, I'll include it in one of my videos, and I'll be sure to reach out to you with a link to that video. If you also want to switch to alternatives to YouTube or Facebook, be sure to check out BitChute and Minds respectively. When operating BitChute, make sure you take into account that you may have to utilize either Google Chrome or Gab's web browser to center to view some videos. Safari has demonstrated a little hostility when I tried it. Apple hates Gab with the utmost sincere passion, to put it lightly. Oh, and also don't forget that on my BitChute channel, you can also donate. You can also send, some donations to me. And you can donate in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, yada yada yada. I've enabled it for donations. You just click the donation tab, and you can just send it to my account. It's what gives me the drive to keep these videos going. If you don't want to send a question my way, Gab, BitChute, and Minds are still great platforms for free speech. For Minds, you can monetize your posts and videos and get paid in cryptocurrency, which is definitely going to help in the event of hyperinflation. I certainly have enjoyed these platforms, and I hope you do too. No need to stay on the mainstream platforms where your voice will be censored. See you on the other side.